Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Kai Sage here, bringing you back another video. This is my ESO PvP class tier list for the Scribes of Fate patch. So I'll go ahead and knock out a few things before I get started, and let's talk about the tiers first. So pure carry is going to be, you really don't even need thumbs to play this class. It's honestly just exactly what I said. It's a pure carry. S tier is going to be, it's probably a little bit overperforming, could be tuned back a little bit, but overall, just one of the best classes in the game. A tier is going to be right where it should be. It's going to be a good class, which maybe it's not perfect all around, but it's balanced in the best way it can be. B tier is going to be needs probably a few buffs, you know, to be more competitive, but overall still a solid class. C tier is going to be the lowest. There's actually no D tier or dog shit tier this time around because I actually don't believe any class is at that tier this patch. However, C tier, being the lowest, is going to be that it could use some work and it's not super competitive right now, and it probably needs a significant buff to be competitive. So the colored ones, or the orange, yellow, blue colored ones, are going to, the non-green colored ones, if you will, are going to be the Magicka versions. The green ones are going to be the Stamina versions. So obviously I'll talk about them and label them as I go. So Mag DK, we're going to throw Mag DK in the pure carry section. So it's also important to note, guys, that this is all based on Cyrodiil. Dueling plays a factor. Battlegrounds plays a factor. I will try to keep sets out of it as much as possible. However, let's be honest, there are certain sets that work a lot better for other classes than others. For example, Maris is a lot more effective on one class versus another. So I will kind of lump all that together and how I make these classes. And if you fought a Mag DK last patch or this patch, you would already know this, and this will come as no surprise to you. So, Mag DKs are insane right now. They're the only class that has two offensive and defensive ultimates. And what I mean by that is by hitting the ultimate, you essentially defend yourself and are able to go on the offense at the same time. So, Ferociously puts a full health damage shield on you once you hit it, so it can be used as a panic, and it also does damage to an enemy. It stuns, it gets them off you. It essentially will reset a fight for the most part. Then Corrosive. Corrosive basically makes it to where you can essentially make an ulti-gen build and then have unlimited damage after that. It also, you're unkillable in it, essentially, especially by like one person in like a one-on-one situation. And it's not even factoring in, Eruption, the damage they can output, all their dots, how Coag is just a crazy self-heal. DK is just broken. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it's been your main for 5 years. It has not always been broken. It has not always been good. But this patch and last patch, but this patch is the only one that matters for this tier list sake, it is absolutely busted. And they need to tune this class back hard. Because some things I'd like to see, I think, are not allowing someone to build ult while they're in Corrosive. I think that's insane because essentially the uptime that you can have it is significantly decreased when you allow someone to actually build more ultimate while they're already in an ultimate that you can't kill them in is just nutty to me. I'd also like to see the defensive aspect of Corrosive go away. So if offensively it's this ultimate penetration thing, sure, I'm all good with that. What I'm not good with is not pretty much allowing their health to move while they're in it. So those are some things that I think would be super helpful. And then tuning back also all the resources they get from ults. Like, that's craziness. Because essentially you don't need to build recovery. You can just build ulti-gen and that's it. And to me, that's just not how any other class is able to operate but Dragonite. And to me, that's just crazy. But I digress. Hopefully I won't be as lengthy for the other classes. Magplar. I think Magplar is actually at A tier. I don't mind Magplar right now. I think it could use a little bit more damage. Sustain isn't great either, but it's fine. I actually want to move this to B tier now that I'm thinking about it. I want to put Magplar in B tier because it doesn't have the damage it once had, which it shouldn't, but it also needs a little bit more damage. And so it's like they nerfed it too hard. Obviously, Burning Light and all that stuff was hitting way too hard, and they needed to do something about that, but I don't think they should have did it as much as they did, because now it seems like Magplar, other than Radiant, they don't really have a whole lot of damage, so neither here nor there. Magsork, we're going to throw Magsork in C tier. So Magsork is interesting because it's been one of the worst classes for a while now. And then with the health buff they did, where shields now go off health, is really interesting because you can then build for health and spell damage instead of having to stack so much max magicka, which stacking max magicka I found has been really difficult because you also need to factor in sustain. Max magicka doesn't hit super hard either, so you have to then factor in damage and all that other stuff. So I'm not really sure, how to continue to make them better. But I have seen some Magsorks this patch, and they are really tanky. And they still hit pretty hard. So hopefully this will go up as new builds come out and as people find new ways to play Magsork. However, I'm not going to hold my breath, and so far I've still seen that they can get bursted really easily, and that's just that. Stamblade. I'm going to throw Stamblade in A tier. I don't have a problem with Stamblade. I don't think they're broken. I don't like Cloak, but other than that, I think they're pretty spot on where they should be. They hit really hard, but they're really squishy, so it's give and take. Their sustain is really good as well, so I like where they are. I don't have many gripes with Stamblade. Magblade's essentially the same thing. They kind of play the same, and so once again, no gripes with Magblade. They do hit really hard. I think I'd like to see crit damage tuned back a little bit, because crit damage is pretty crazy. Like it's pretty nutty, I think. But like I said, they can get hit really hard, so it kind of balances itself out. So if you can give them a little bit more defense and then tone back crit damage a little bit, I think they'd be perfect, honestly. But it's not enough to get them out of A tier, I don't think. Stamcrow. I'm going to put Stamcrow in A tier as well. Now, you guys probably think I'm crazy by putting Stamcrow in A tier, but if you want to play Stamcrow, I highly suggest you try this out. The new Wrecking Blow is insane. So, Wrecking Blow is the other morph of Dizzy Swing, and before it was worthless, and now when you hit someone with it, it gives Major Berserk. So, you essentially can get Major Berserk without running Sea Serpent, and then allows you to kind of run Markin and all kinds of other stuff. And then Vamp Stage 3, I mean, your tankiness is insane on Stamcrow, and I honestly think that this class will make a comeback with the new Wrecking Blow. I know a lot of people aren't Dizzy Swing fans, but the Stamcrow peeps out there know that. I don't remember if this patch is out on console yet or not, but really try Wrecking Blow on Stamcrow if you want to play it and you're looking to get back into it. So, Magic and Necromancer. So, this is my baby. This is my main. And it's unfortunate, but I have to put it in C tier. I'm not going to go D tier and be delusional and say that's the worst class in the game, because it's not. I think it's probably tied with Magsork. So, they nerfed the Harmony playstyle, and so that pretty much severely limits your builds that you can run on Macro. And pretty much all you can hope for is to get basically build like a dot type build with Jargarkin. That's what I found to work the best. Macro still does have pretty solid defense, but like I said, you have to go so much into offense, you almost lose your defense because you're not able to run anything that helps you defensively. And the sustain is also really bad. Macro sustain has been bad for a while, but like for me, for example, on my build, I'm a Breton, I run Atro, and I run Wretched Vitality. And that seems like it's enough to sustain. But if I took any of those off, I would struggle, I feel like. Now, if you're running dual wield, it's a little different because dual wield's not as much like actions per minute. So you don't have to worry about Magicka sustain as much. But if you're running like especially the Inferno staff builds and stuff, it's really hard on your Magicka. And the buffs don't last very long either. So it's like you're constantly casting buffs like all the time. And so I can't really say many great things about Macro. I have 5 started, as you guys saw in my last video, so it'll probably be almost no Macro content moving forward. So I guess it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of it, but I still would like to see my main make a comeback and, get some usefulness, because we all know the next patch after this, Arcanus is going to be coming out, and if they don't do something with Macro, then Arcanus is just going to take over, as I'm sure it will anyway, but regardless. Magden, I'm going to throw Magden in B tier. So, Magden's fine. I don't have a big issue with Magden. I don't think that it hits too hard or anything. But my biggest problem and why it's in B tier is because I feel like you can't get yourself out of execute unless you have like 40k health, which I guess is part of the thing. So maybe it's more of an A tier. I don't know, somewhere in between here. We can leave it an A tier. I think it's fine because I guess you have to have some trade off. And I also don't really know how to buff it because Magden healers are insane. And so, how do you give it a good magic burst heal when the healers are already ridiculous? I don't know. But I would really like to see Magden. I don't know. I don't even know. But they have a lot of good group utility. They, have pretty much every buff, debuff in the game. And so overall, they're a good class. I don't have a whole lot of complaints, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got on Magden. Stamden is S tier. If you look at the ball Zergs, pretty much they're all Stamdens because they can essentially get every buff in the game. If you run high health on it, I mean, the healing is ridiculous on it. It's fast. It has, it can utilize all the stamina stuff like spin to win, raining slashes. I know Magicka can too, but it's a lot harder to sustain it, obviously, on Magicka. And then Stam, you can run like Dizzy Swing, Empowering, or Wrecking Blow builds and, hit crazy hard. So Stamden's S tier, in my opinion, and that just is what it is. Stam DK. Stam DK is a pure carry, just like Mag DK. I mean, they basically play the same. The only difference is that, one runs more Stam, one runs more Mag. So, but with Whip being a Magicka and stamina ability, like I said, they play pretty much the same, and they're just a pure carry. Like I said, if you've main Stam DK for a while, that does not mean you are carried. But if you look, I mean, just look at the landscape. Look at the players who, weren't very good. Let's just be honest, weren't very good for a while, and now they're killing good players. I mean, it's just a reality. Like DK is busted right now. It just is. Once again, doesn't mean if you've played DK forever, doesn't mean you're just a carried player. But your class is carried right now, and I don't care what you have to say about it. My friend Quinn, he plays DK. He's not delusional. He knows. It maybe hasn't been his main for years, but it's easy to understand it. Like you can just watch other players who are not very good, pretty much tank Zergs, and be able to finally X for once in their life because they're playing these classes. And I mean, it doesn't happen often. Usually there's some S tier stuff, but usually ESO doesn't have pure busted classes, but right now DKs are busted. And that's just what it is. You can be mad, I don't give a shit. Stamplar. We'll throw Stamplar in B tier as well. Like I said, this one also plays just like Magplar. I don't really see the difference between them, other than they run stamina morphs of things, and the other one runs Magicka morphs. But, I mean, all in all, they kind of do the same thing. They don't have a lot of damage. Their defense is decent. And sustain isn't great either, especially with cleanse costing so much. I can't really say that, it's a good class or it's where it should be. Really, all I think Mag and Stamplar both need is just a little bit more damage. If they had a little bit more damage, they'd be A tier. I mean, it's just that simple. I'm going to throw Stamsork in A tier. Stamsork's really good right now. I don't have an issue with it. I don't think it needs any buffs. It's always been the fast, squishy, hard-hitting class, and it's kept that identity, and so I like that. I don't mind that, and I think it's right where it should be. It doesn't need procs right now, but with procs, it's even better. Mara's isn't, even though Mara's is a really, really broken set, it doesn't seem like ridiculous on Stamsork. So that's pretty much all I got. Hope you guys did enjoy this tier list. Hopefully this let you guys know what's good, what isn't in the upcoming patch if you haven't played it yet. If you have played it, or maybe the patch just came out for you, then, or maybe you just started playing during this patch, hopefully this gives you some insight on kind of what everything's looking like. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions, and let me know your thoughts below. That's all I got for you guys. Later.